the very money I receive, the interest of the mortgage are paid by the state, which in some way was giving some regulation to the bankers not to rise up too much their interest, and in any case to warranty to the banks to have the money back. Obviously, if someone was not paying, the house was to be confiscated like it is happening today. But the difference is when the state does this, does what the ancient Roman emperor was doing with the documentazione I mentioned. And so I made this evaluation according to these costs in Rome and to the costs in Palermo. But everywhere I go, I apply the same rules because, you know, independently from the value of the cost of life, place by place, the logic is always the same, and I think it's possible to be done everywhere. I don't know if it was clear enough.
Yeah, it is clear. Also, I understood you include a lot of like courtyards inside your housing. So, what is your logic behind that?
The logic of the courtyard, as I said, is based on those of the courtyard I shown of the existing districts. When they built these districts in Rome, they started building this district because it was made very interesting sociological study, which is available online. If you go on the website academia.edu, you can find an essay of mine that is talking about the great story of the Testaccio district in Rome, where the violence was horrible, worse than the social banlieue, the French banlieue. And he's a sociologist, proto-sociologist, Domenico Rano, whose picture was in all the police station as a dangerous anarchist, simply because he was trying to understand what was going wrong with the poor people. He made this fantastic study and he created a committee for the moral and economic improvement of Testaccio. And this committee was collecting together people from many kind of social classes, religious beliefs, and etc., etc. And they were fighting for many other things, but when they were dealing with the district, they were thinking like one. And they identified all the problems of these houses, which were based on the enclosed block, which was the way that was theorized by the Cardinal who made the speculation in Rome. So the apartments with a beautiful facade outside were hiding monster internal condition, with overcrowded condition, with a lot of illness. So in this committee we're working together, well, the architect was the very last one involved, were sociologists, economists, doctors. This is the moment when the etiology has been developed, and the etiology is a special branch of medicine that is studying direct relationship between disease or epidemics and the living overcrowded condition. So many different things brought to the invention of a new type of building, which is the Casa Emilia, with the courtyard, which was made on purpose to have the cross ventilation. But the layout of the house was organized in a manner to warranty the security of kids. Because on those days, the women were living mainly at home, so they display all the kitchen on the courtyard in order to watch from the window the kids playing in the courtyard. And every courtyard was designed with a playground inside. And this was also something that was necessary because, as they were saying, the architects of those days were saying, since the urbanists forgot the spaces for gathering people together, we put these spaces inside the blocks. So the courtyard is not conceived as you have seen in the picture. Some courtyard looks very beautiful, like a piazza, because they said our facade are not secondary spaces, but are the continuation of the public space within the public, within the private world. And my courtyard, not invented by me, but it's a simple continuation of what used to be possible to be done in those days in order to create a city that is satisfying the needs of everybody, starting from the kids.
I had a question. In the previous project that you showed, which was titled, I guess, round rise rather than eye rise.
Yes,
So
it was it was a name. Well, actually, I invented this name ground scraper because obviously skyscraper.
Right.
But when you have a 1 kilometer, it's really one
So
horrible
I had a particular thing to ask about because there was no taller at that point of time. I don't believe that, it was within the vicinity of a aerodrome or something wherein the height restrictions were applicable. But then, probably since you were talking about how long it took, 7.5 years to build for 122 families, wouldn't it would have been economical and viable to probably build taller rather than
Absolutely.
horizontally?
Absolutely.
But then the redevelopment, I was wondering because we didn't see
No,
any
I know,
elevations.
I know,
So I
because
was
that
just
is,
wondering.
no, because this is obviously some absolutely logical questions and a question that is coming out often and is based on many lies that unfortunately are presented. Because first of all, when you work with a high rise, you are not saving the surfaces, because when you have a skyscraper and you collect 5,000 people within a building, you need to have an immense surface around of road and parking.
Yeah,
And then you are also addicted on air conditioning, and these buildings are sometimes causing horrible problems. I don't know if you've seen these buildings on fire a few days ago, and it's not the first case. It's something, and the technique, the technology, the material for building this building is completely unsustainable. Something I had not time to show, but if we will have time, I can bring my computer very quickly to show real data of unknown things that are happening. When I made this documentation, I discovered, as I said, not only the bottom line cost of construction, but also the time needed for the construction.
True.
And the first intervention in San Saba, which is a marvelous, I quoted this because in San Saba, it's the case of this recent auction where the apartment were, one apartment were on the market for 11.11 thousand euro per square meter. I found the real documentation in the archive that shows that the construction started in October 1908, and in April 1909, all the apartments were inhabited, 6 months, never restored more than 100 years. So here, these are real data. There is the lot number 24 in Garbatella that was built as a demonstrative district because it was organized in Rome, the international meeting of Institute for Social Housing. And it was necessary to demonstrate a new type of construction, a new quick type of construction with the villino type. And it was given 1 month for the design and 4 months for the construction. These buildings are still there, never restored, in a fantastic shape. This means that all the lies we heard about the high-rise or problem of building a monster building to host the refugee, etc., are just lies, simply to justify more speculative intervention. Try to imagine if, like what happened in Testaccio, because among the other things I have to say is that when it was in 1910, it was necessary to organize the exhibition to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the unification of Italy. It was recognized as the shame of a lot of illegal huts, villages along the river embankment, which was not a good way to present Rome to visitors. So they proposed to build a new apartment blocks in Testaccio for more than roughly 6,000 of inhabitants. And that's the reason why it was this research made by Orano that brought to the creation of the committee. And I find they decided not to accept the offer by a private investor who offered a couple of millions of lira those days to build this district. Because they said that, like what is happening with the charity, when you are making people addicted on charity, you are keeping them as a parasite. While people were rebelling on the idea of remaining a parasite, which was the system used by the clergy and by the nobility, I give you something, and then you are happy. But at the end, this is not a way to have a social revenge. So those people said, we don't want to have the charity. We want to have a future. So since all the inhabitants at the end were employed in the construction of new buildings around Rome, they created a series of cooperative of workers, the masons, the carpenter, the blacksmith, etc. And they created some institution within the municipality that was coordinating these cooperative of workers, which were builders of the houses where they were going to live. And this was super successful, and it was in use until the fascist time, when at a certain point, obviously in a regime like that, you are much more interested in supporting those that are supporting you, rather than think about the inhabitants of the city. And so that was, the truth is that the land consumption of Garbatella, of Città Giardino Niene, of all these districts, and the quality of houses is much, much better than the monster ground scraper or any kind of a skyscraper that is going to be a problem for the planet instead of being a way to change the quality of the planet.
So wrong town planning created a disaster.
Town planning created disaster.
Wrong.
Yeah. Wrong, yes, of course.
गलत प्लानिंग अगर किया जाए ना, गलत प्लानिंग किया जाए तो क्या वो एक डिजास्टर क्रिएट किया जा सकता है? अगर ऐसा बहुत सारे ऐसे सभ्यताएं हैं जो खत्म हो गए, क्या इसके पीछे रॉन्ग प्लानिंग था? जैसे मोहनजोदड़ो.
So, he wants to know if some civilizations have died off. Can there be a reason that because of wrong planning, it contributed to their getting this,
Thank you for the question. You invite me to talk about, I think, the best cartoon, Disney cartoon ever. I'm not kidding. Have you ever seen Wall-E? The story of Wall-E is exactly the question you are asking about, because this is something that is showing precisely the American society. Because you have these humans that have polluted so much the planet that they are forced to run away and live on the spaceship, and they left these mini robots on the planet to check if the life is back. And when the life is back with the leaves, he has to inform the spaceship, you can come back. But then the computer is trying to block the information, which is what is going to happen with AI, but that's another story. And what is interesting is that these humans that are living on the spaceship are all obese, and they are living on these floating chairs. And the first thing to do before coming back to the planet is to open a book, and they don't know what is a book. And this book is a manual that is teaching them that they have the legs, and they have to learn how to use the legs to move. Which means that, yes, human being is the responsible of the death of the planet. He's the worst dangerous animal for the planet. We claim to be the most intelligent, but probably we are not. And until we are in time to realize the mistake and recognize our mistakes, we have to change. And the message was delivered very well in 2005. Another book I strongly suggested to read is written by James Howard Kustler, and it's called The Long Emergency. And the subtitle is How to Survive with the End of the Low-Cost Era, Low-Cost Oil Era. Because even, unfortunately, the alternative energies, unfortunately, are dependent on that. In 2035, so no longer from now, is in this book, and no one scientist dismantled this theory yet because they're based on real data. It is the moment when the cost to extract 1 barrel of oil will be higher than the cost of 1 barrel of oil. And this means that he planned in 2005, he wrote about what was going to happen if we were not understanding that the long emergency started. And he was depicting some image of the new Middle Ages with a lot of wars that were have these resources, and it was a war to take these resources. Nobody listened at that. But watching at what is happening in the Middle East, in Venezuela, in Ukraine, I can't show that I don't know, because I knew. Because in 2005, this book was depicting precisely what later on happened. It's time to be able to be honest and humble enough to say, okay, it was an attempt, we made a mistake, let's go and restart. When, not from the Renaissance, from the moment when we fell asleep.
Very well put.
I think this course for all of you is very, very relevant. Most of you, I would say 95% of you are already in the formative period of your time career. So I suppose you can be his voice to take it further, because very well researched, and you are striking at the root of all causes. Because today, in today's time, modern development goes it's at 180 degree to what professor is talking. So when in whichever field you'll be working, we have a range of students from different streams. Wherever you are working, the philosophy that he's trying to put ahead, the knowledge that he's trying to put ahead, will have a very valid ground. If we really want to have a better planet, if we really want to have better life for ourselves and for the future generations, then this is the way that we need to progress. So thank you very much, Professor, to ignite their minds in the correct way.
They are the future.
Yes, they are the future, and I'm
The
so
future
thankful.
is in your hand.
And I'm so thankful that
Our hands
they're
are
getting
dirty.
such a good direction. Yes.
We have never thought the
Yes.
way you have approached the regeneration projects. The actual meaning of regeneration was like we could really see and relate. Okay, this is what actually regeneration is. It has become so vibrant and it belongs to people, and it's really amazing. And putting into statistics, that was another like a bullseye sort of thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Grazie.
Right.
If I pronounce that
It's
correctly.
grazie.
Grazie.
Yes.
Grazie means thank you.
So it's already 12, I understand? 12. Okay. So we break for the lunch and we get back at 1:30. क्या time है? Look at the schedule.
कोई वो zoom in करके वो detail दिखा रहा है कि this is how the entrance will look, this is how the door का design will look, this is how the bricks are arranged, this is how the in view it will look, something like that. So one will you should have a holistic kind of understanding. अगर मैं आपका project देखूँ तो अगर एक ने site plan उसका बनाया है, सॉरी floor plan बनाया है, किसी ने उसका elevation बनाया, कोई उसी चीज का detail पे काम कर रहा है, तो आप अपने आपस में divide कर लो कि कौन क्या बनाएगा, ठीक है? और फिर उस सबको एक साथ आप एक presentation में डालेंगे और one person will be representing your group कि आपने what you have designed, so that in that design everything should be clear कि अच्छा ऐसा दिखेगा, ये उसका detail होगा, ये उसके elements होंगे, and this is how it is. अभी before after जैसे होता है ना, घर का renovation करते हैं तो अभी कैसा दिख रहा है, और आपने जो उसको एकदम बढ़िया painting कर दी, अच्छे से redesign कर दिया तो कैसा दिखेगा. So like the before and after kind of effect you will show. First you will talk about details. This is how my plan is, this is how the elevation is, these are the details that we have incorporated, and at the end you will bring together everything, and then before and after image you will see this is what we think it would look better. अभी ये सिनेरियो है, हम ऐसा करेंगे, हम डिजाइन करेंगे
थोड़ा सा डाल दो एग्जाम चाहिए
शीट सबने ले ली, अभी ऐसा कम नहीं हुआ ना, और में भी जरूरत पड़ेगा कुछ। इसके अपोजिट है ना म्यूजियम का साइड होगा हम अपने पार्टी में यूज कर सकते हैं मिल जाए गूगल अंदर का तो मेरे खुद से डिसाइड
बाहर का फुटप्रिंट देखिए 30% अगर वो मतलब फुटप्रिंट ले रहा है उतना ही से होगा
लेकिन उसका वो
Participants, your attention please.
स्क्रीनशॉट निकाल के देते
Participants, your attention please. All of you.
Everybody please listen.
Sir, will you a little brief of what you are supposed to do?
So, I've seen the work I've done yesterday, which is very promising. It is a perfect way to show how you try to create a kind of dictionary of an Alanda size, which is useful to use as a way to improve the buildings, the facilities that are surrounding the archaeological site, which actually are useful but are terrible. Obviously, we can't have a time to redesign the museum and to reorganize the spaces. But what it is possible to be done with the work you have done is to show how you can change the image, you can change the facade, the volumes of these existing buildings, creating some kind of, not a veneer because it's structural at the end, additional wall that is changing the facade of these spaces. You can change the openings of these spaces. You can move probably, don't move the windows, but keep the holes where they are because structurally possible to be transformed. And think about a project that is the right completion, the right cornice of the archaeological sites built in a manner that is not only respectful of the local language, but is the way to train people who are going to build this transformation, to train people in learning the methodology of construction, the way of making these cornices, the way of displaying bricks, in a manner that is extremely important to be learned in order to make the proper restoration that the archaeological sites deserve. Because yesterday we have noticed the horrible condition of reinforced concrete inclusion that have been done after the restoration. The openings that were closed with slabs of concrete or concrete brackets to support the former wooden blanket that were made to allow the projection of the sun facade. So, considering these transformations that the archaeological site needs in terms of restoration, because if they don't proceed as soon as possible with the removal of the concrete, the reinforced concrete that is horribly decayed, the buildings are going to suffer. So they urge to have people able to do it. And the project we are proposing is the right workshop where, in addition to the beautification of these little volumes, you can produce the expert of the future to make the proper restoration. So now, team by team, we made some hypotheses of solution. I think that this was already given to them.
Yes.
Which worked well.
Spelled out which one is supposed to do what?
To make the
Group is
work.
already written in. Group 1 and 2 are doing, each of them will do one ticketing counter and one gate. Group 3 and 4 will do one museum and one toilet. There were two locations for toilet. One was in the archaeological site, the other was in the museum site. So maybe the third group can take the archaeological site, and the fourth group can take the museum site. Okay? And then group 5 will do
Okay, 1 and 2 is ticketing counter again. Group G is going to go.
okay, this is not a toilet. Here there should be a kiosk. Two kiosks. ठीक है, change करो, ठीक है? So group 3 and 4, you do one museum proposal for the museum. Only the white building, not all the 3 buildings. Only the white building you are supposed to work on. Is that right?
Yeah, the white building, the older one, it's,
Yes.
I think it's very reasonable, except for the use of white that has nothing to do with the tradition of the bricks of Malanga. And I'm sure that removing the plaster, the bricks is there. Maybe you can make an hypothesis of giving the same facade they have but made of bricks. The niches for the Buddhas, like those we have seen on the monasteries, are exactly the same. But unfortunately, they have this white plaster that has nothing to do with the building. The only problem in that building, in my opinion, is the contradiction of the shelter over the entrance that has nothing to do with the monuments and has nothing to do with the building itself, because it looks like a slab of concrete that is supported by nothing, and is in some way diminishing the quality of the beautiful colonnade left and right of the portal. So maybe that is also a place where it's possible to propose 2 columns on the corner of this shelter to give a better outer appearance and to justify better that, even if it's not part of what used to be the layout of this monastic complex. The space, if there is any possibility, the space of that museum, the courtyard, if you wish, instead of having this oval form with this large lawn with the grass surrounded by scattered buildings, probably could be also reconfigured, linking together the buildings, even with a simple shelter or something, some spaces left and right, in order to have an outer appearance of the courtyard like those of the monasteries. Because it's a pity that they didn't take in consideration, for a space that is very similar in the way it is organized, the possibility to deal with some typology that is similar to the one that was there. But this is, either yes or no. But for sure, except for the building that needs to be removed, the plaster to expose the bricks, all the other buildings of the museum are really deserve to be completely reconfigured. So, in the respect of the present opening, you can have fun in making brick elevation with all these cornices you documented, which could be really the lexicon, that could be really the dictionary to be used, to be learned to make the restoration. So this means that in a group made of 5 people, you can have different tasks. Because someone, since we need to draw and to proceed as fast as possible, because tomorrow we have to make a presentation. And in my opinion, I don't know if this is doable or not, because I don't know the skill of each one of you. It would be great to make the drawing, scan, and make the presentation in PowerPoint, because the presentation made in PowerPoint by few of you, it is very effective for those that are attending the presentation, more than having the pin up and walk around without any let's say, explanation. But that is something we have to discuss about. But in the same team, you can have a person that is showing his drawing the existing condition of the building. So plan, elevation, sections, whatever you want, of the existing building. Some other one that is designing the reconfiguration of that, which basically is the same elevation of the present building, that is increase of the thickness of the wall, obviously. You need to make this new facade. And the others can work on the details, because if I draw the elevation in scale 1 to 100, I can have an idea of the strain course, I can have an idea of the cornice, but I don't have the detail. So one of the group can draw at a larger scale the details to understand how these cornices are made. It's really a kind of booklet to be presented to those that have to build and say, okay, this is what I want to do. And then working hand in hand with the craftsmen, it's possible to do exactly what we want. And this is for every building to be produced, including these little kiosks. Remember the very last building, the last temple we've seen just before, nearby the Japanese temple, there is this little very sad kiosk that is a white horrible box. I mean, a kind of a tent of a pediment that did honestly nonsense, because it's also not supported by nothing, where you can have fun to simply reconfigure the elevation to give another appearance that is much more respectful and integrated into the context. Remember that there are a lot of bricks that are lying on the floor because it was dismantled by someone that it was probably trying to reuse for the construction of the nearby settlement. This is a construction that probably will be also made with the existing bricks that are outside without producing new bricks, which means recycling, very sustainable, something that is no longer possible to be used where they used to be, which will be extremely useful to learn with the same proportion, with the same material, what is possible to be done in the context. Is it clear?
Anybody any doubts? Please raise your hand and ask. Any specific questions, anything? Any doubts, anybody? No?
Okay.
Okay, so I think
You should start, and whenever you need anything, please ask us. We are here to give you any kind of support we need.
See, since we have not taken the dimensions of the plan, that can be
Yeah, for sure. This plan is in scale.
What is 1,000?
1,000. Yeah, 1,000. So you have the footprint of two buildings. You don't have those of the museum, because I think the museum is here. This is the entrance. But considering that you have these, if you go to Google Earth, on Google Earth you have the possibility. You know how to use the ruler? Yeah. So even if there is a mistake of 50 centimeters, it's not a crime. But if you can update this plan, and you update the entrance, so the dimension of the entrance are well known, you can add the ticket office, which is here with the hospital shelter that could be replaced. The shelter could be made with a nice typical, either typical Indian wooden structure, but also the one of cast iron that is emulating the wooden structure, like the one of the main building of the campus. It's something that is beautiful and is worthwhile to take into consideration. And it's something that should be also taken into consideration for the fence and the gate, because the gate must be made of iron. So making something that is speaking the proper language and is working is singing in the choir with the shelter of the museum, probably it could be good. But on Google Earth, you can update this plan. You can print the plan from Google Earth, transform Google Earth view in 2D, not 3D, because that is giving the information. With the 2D, the form is probably same size, and you can draw at the same scale the plan of the museum to understand what to be done. And then at that point, you know the dimension of the building. With the pictures working with the proportion, you know, you can understand roughly the height of this building, and even in this case, due to the very short amount of time, we are not going to be there with the measuring tape. We are wrong. So even if there are 50 centimeters of difference, it's not a crime. This is an exercise that wants to show what to be done. It doesn't pretend to be the final project to be given for the construction site, but is something that is giving not a dream, but a very possible, feasible idea to improve the place.
I had a particular question. Since I'm in group 4, which is supposed to do museum and a kiosk, so the site for the museum, where are we proposing? Is it inside this the
Yes.
existing one?
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
Ma'am, but we don't know the area. We are also in group 3.
That's why Google.
that's why Google Earth is useful. Because on Google Earth, you have the rectangle of the building, you have the footprint of the building. Then
So
the
we are
picture.
proposed to have the same area.
Yes, yes, you know, here there is the kiosk with the shelf. Here is the building that is under construction.
Yeah, that's
Here-
like ARVR.
Yeah, here I remember it was another building, here it was the main building with
Yes.
the columns.
Yeah.
Here it was another building and something else.
Right.
And then it was this kind of oval wall here,
Right, right.
which doesn't work. In my opinion, this has to be brought to a rectangle, well, now probably matches with this, as I remember, I was wrong here. I think it's something that goes in this direction. So these really could be considered, if you transform the gate in something that look like the entrance to one of the monasteries. And this building, even if are detached as they are connected with the passageways, like a secondary entrance. At the end, you generate something that will match the rectangular piazza of the monastery. And what you have to do is simply to draw the linkages from the building, and then say, okay, actually this facade now I'm drawing upside down, sorry for you. But as I remember, the facade of the museum is something that is roughly like this, which is a horrible shell. So you can say, okay, this is now like this. In the future, this will be made of this.
वो जो वाइट वाला बिल्डिंग राइट में था वही वाला।
Here I can even add the statue, the niche that is empty, and then having here the two statues, the statue of Buddha. Maybe they can be brought to the niches in the display where we were supposed to display. So you have to make the facade. So there is this. We have seen these ridiculous water closets, which are bad to be seen with a fake brick work, but also which are, they have an horrible aesthetic impact, because above there are 3 giant white tanks for the water. So this means that if the building today is this, and here I have a tank, maybe I can think about a building that is tall like this, so the tank are going to be invisible, and probably I can also imagine to have a roof to hide it from above, because it's better to see tiles rather than see this water tank, and then you can completely reconfigure this. There is this building here, I took a picture, that has this facade. Have you noticed that? It's the entrance of one of the bathrooms. But then this is made with fake bricks. And bricks cannot work like that. Here, you need to have the voussoir. So this is something that has to be redrawn to appear real, not a fake postmodern installation. Yeah, it's always, no, actually, It's a way of living. The new facade of the project is not about the board. And if you want to have a roof office, you can have it. If you want to have some keynote, some kind of a show, whatever, you can not have the thing. Because this is a job. But this will be also transformed with something that in some way reserved for the people it will change completely the character. And then if someone says it's multiplication of resources, here you can buy 1,005. Well, it's a building with data. But at the end, it is something that is not disturbing the view of the historical.
Big Pino Gandhi.
So thank you very much for your
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm also learning lots of things about this. It's a good opportunity for me also. So today at the evening, sir, on what topic you are giving a presentation at the museum?
Yeah, probably.
The audience will be new.
Yeah, probably. Because I remember that I was there another lecture about the restoration, but I don't know. No, but prima
If you can allow me, I can do that.
Are you sure? What do you know?
No, it's not.
This is the Japanese. Yes, this is the Japanese. You know, here there is the
At the corner, I'm doing I see your station at this point.
yeah, there is a very big square. The one who is
Okay, we said we can propose a.
That's a sample that we display wherever you like.
Yeah.
So we know that there is.
Kiosk has to be.
It's a, as I remember, it's 2 by 2 by 3.
Yeah, you have measured it 2 meters.
Yeah, and we took pictures.
Yeah, we have.
I unfortunately I transfer in my computer, but I'm sure that somebody wants to take a picture. The one that has the ridiculous better.
In Kipad, they have.
If it's necessary, go and pick my computer.
No, he has those pictures because he's continuously taking the picture. वो आपके पास फोटोज हैं
For everybody, remember that the dimension, someone used the measure of the typical bricks, which as I remember was 22, 25. So when you draw the elevation, you are supposed to attach a new facade to the previous one. You are you are increasing that. So you have to consider that the footprint of the building it is increased of at least 25 centimeters per side, because you are going from a wall against the wall, which makes the wall thicker, but that is also extremely good in terms of installation, because the wall becomes thicker, and you have a little gap of with the existing wall, and the new one is going to make a further isolation, so it's not going anywhere. So remember to increase, if it is 2 meters, the kiosk is going to be 2.50 because they are 20 less centimeters per side. I receive also the small one.
Yeah, small packet.
If not 6, at least 5 and 5.5. Because this has certain kind of boundaries for parallel rows.
था, एक के पास लैपटॉप है, मैंने बोला एक मेजर दे दो और दोनों एक ही डायमेंशन में काम करता है, अदरवाइज दो अलग डायमेंशन सबका ले सकते हैं, लेकिन यहाँ से एक्यूरेट फॉर दिस साइड, वहाँ पे क्या होगा कि वो एक्यूरेट मेजर करेंगे 1000 से वो करेंगे तो एग्जैक्ट ये लोग कोई सेम HDMI है, हो जाएगा इससे।
Because It's exactly the size and the shape of one of so at that point, you have to work on your application. And if you want to use it as a car, obviously you can't attach something to the window. But this is something that allows you to have this building, which is adjacent to this building. And in between, you can place it one archway that is creating the continuity like in the concrete. It's like in the monastery, that is the juxtaposition of the city. Thank you. Yeah, because we don't know in detail what is happening into the ticket office, but we know what is happening outside. So this is something that could be limited to be a redesign of the facade and a redesign of the shelter, because the shelter is really ugly. And you can see what is a kind of maquillage. It's dressing the building in a proper manner.
Thank you.